Recording. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining the ESP webinar for all things NEM 3.0 and batteries. We have a special guest here from Franklin Whole Home. Look at this battery. This thing looks awesome. I know it is. I've gone through a little bit of training with these guys, and this thing's pretty darn cool. We've got Justin on, who's going to help walk us through all things Franklin, all things NEM 3.0, kind of what their take is on how we can help our customers in the most advanced, awesome, badass way possible. Super stoked to have you guys on. Justin, go ahead and take it away, and we'll let you rock and roll from here. Everybody use the Q&A, and myself, Brandon, and Danny can answer questions on the back end. And we will also be sending out this recording eventually once we get it all edited and put together. And we'll send you out any decks and different pieces of information as well. So that will be in your email inbox very shortly after this. Other than that, Justin, aloha. Thanks for joining us all the way from Hawaii. I know it's early over there right now, but let it rip, dude. Go for it.
Oh, no, I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, so good to be talking to you guys. Just big fans in general of everything you guys have been doing in the industry. I've been personally in solar for 15 years, and it's real nice to see not only an EPC that really takes their customers' success seriously, but supports the org the way you guys do with your sales guys. And so we want, Franklin, we are all about service. Like I said, I've been in this industry a long time, and it's historically been kind of no, I'm sorry is an okay answer in the solar business. And we Franklin kind of disagree. We don't agree with that and believe in that. We're really focused on creating an incredible experience, storage as a service for customers, where they know that, hey, we're going to be around for a really long time, and they can count on their battery working, because, hey, you're taking the grid and you're putting it on your house, right? It's pretty exciting time in solar in general. So I'm sure some of you guys might be new to solar in general, maybe even selling a couple of years. Maybe some of you guys have been doing this for a decade. And so, what I want to do today is just kind of simplify a little bit of our messaging. The Franklin product is not a complicated battery. It's just extremely high tech and extremely effective. So once you understand what it does and how it works, hopefully that'll give you guys the confidence moving into, your new pitch in California and these new markets where you're adding $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to projects that you used to just sell. No problem, right? Like, hey, you want a $100 payment for your $250 bill, right? That was awesome. Those were good days. So, welcome to kind of your new era, right? Where you're going to have to hone in, get really sharp. The cream of the crop are going to rise to the top in this scenario. And so I highly suggest, outside of what I'm going to talk about today, that you research. You can go on, get technically certified with Franklin if you want to go really deep. But there's a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of content out there. Just, get yourself immersed, get confident in the product and the messaging, and you guys will be really successful with this. So thank you. Yeah, I'm fired up, man. This really is about a headspace. I wasn't selling batteries till maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I sold so many that Tesla offered to put a power wall on my house for free, and I politely declined because it would have been about 8 feet from where my daughter sleeps. So we're going to talk about a little bit about our differentiations and why Franklin is grabbing as much market share from Tesla as we are. So we'll start with the aesthetics of the Franklin battery. This was kind of one of the first things on our list, that we really wanted this thing to be beautiful and attractive. People's houses are their sanctuary. Their garage is what they pull into every day when they get home from work. Or maybe their side of their house, they got to walk past this thing every day. So the Franklin battery is beautifully designed. We like to think of it as kind of like a power block, right? It's like a square. And on the battery, as you guys can see, there's a blue LED light. That is not for decoration. Well, kind of it is, but what it actually is a storage state of charge indicator. So when the customer pulls out of their driveway, leaves to go to work in the morning, and their battery's been working all night, they're going to see that blue light is really low on the battery, right? They've used all that power. And as the sun charges it during the day, that drip down effect's going to take, and that LED light's going to climb closer and closer to full on the battery. So when they get home at 5 p.m. and their solar system's been working all day, that battery that was empty when they left for work is now charged, and they can see that. And there is no better daily reminder that they made a good investment on their property than seeing that thing work, get depleted, go back to work for them. So it's a unique feature that no other batteries have on the market, being able to see the state of charge without accessing the app and knowing what your system's doing. So grandma will be, you don't, I always joked with like span panels and stuff. You put a span panel on grandma's house, she might never turn the lights back on, right? This is one of those things where this battery is really easy. You look at it, you can see exactly what it's doing. And most simpletons, most people in the market are going to really appreciate that. But most important, right? When we get down to it, I think we all assume, hey, put a battery on, have backup power, right? Well, I want to talk about, that transformer that sits on the power line outside your house, that big old tin box that's hanging off one of the power lines. That thing costs about $120,000. And all that does is manage the power going through it for the neighbors. It doesn't generate power. It doesn't store power. Just that piece of hardware is about $100,000. And all that does is manage it, right? So the idea that we're just going to put a battery on somebody's house and now they live off grid is kind of crazy, right? When just the transformer to transmit the power alone is hundreds of thousands of dollars. So Franklin Whole Home, we're all about energy management, right? You get your battery, you have your controller, and from there, you are able to make certain decisions based off of what's available to you, right? Depending on how much money you spend. It makes it really easy to design Franklin. But as an overview on our company, it's good to know the history. People are going to say, well, who's Franklin, right? Because we totally know who Enphase is. And we totally know this. Like, no, none of the customers really know, but it's good to understand the back end story, right? And help them know where we come from. So we are based in San Jose. We've got a really large executive team with a ton of experience working out of that shop. We do manufacture these overseas in Shenzhen, China. And everybody, right now, I would say the political climate's a little interesting, right? We got balloons floating around us, and maybe China doesn't have like the best reputation with some of your owners, but understand this, all of the power electronics components, whether it's a lithium, whether for batteries, whether it's the semiconductors, all those little things that go into these batteries, 95% of that stuff is made right where we make this. So in our backyard, we have CATL, who's the largest cell manufacturer in the world. And that's like saying, that's like comparing the CW network as number 2 to Disney as a brand, right? Like CATL is massive. And they're bigger than the number 2 and 3 combined. This is who we get our cells from and who we have a multi-year agreement with. I know supply is always a concern. If I sell my customer this battery, is there going to be a battery to give them? The answer is yes. That is not a problem. In addition, all the components, Texas Instruments, Infineon, all those companies that make those products are also our neighbors. They're in our backyard. So for us, it's an element of being able to kind of go out back, get the absolute best stuff we can, put it into our battery, have a very simple product that we manufacture everything at our site. We make our own inverter. We make, we put the battery cells in, everything is constructed and sent, completed and tested. Financially strong. So we are backed by Sequoia Capital. And right now in this day and age, with this whole Silicon Valley Bank and everything going on right now, it's really important to know where's the financing coming from. And for us, we've already cashed that check. So I just want to be very clear. Whatever happens to those guys, it doesn't really matter, right? We got a huge investment from them last year. Then we moved over to Oppo Plus and we just completed our B round. So we are ready to scale in a really big way. We have about 150 patents pending. So this product is proprietary and over 440 employees worldwide. 70% of our company is focused on research and development. Basically, You've got 260 guys in a back. So to put it in perspective, I think Enphase has about 120 people in their R&D department. We have over 200. So this is a product that while we've been sitting around for the last few years, waiting for the time to be right, we didn't want to be a line item with 30 other batteries trying to prove themselves. So we kind of let Generac fall on their face. We let you guys try the Enphase. Maybe you had some issues with capacity or function. And then we knew it was a good time to kind of show up in LeBron, everybody, right? So this is where Franklin's at right now. I'm going to talk a little bit about just, again, battery cells, right? You guys don't know anything about batteries, and I don't want to get into a tech deep dive, but I think it's important to know that The cells we're using in our batteries are not NMC. They are not those round, what look like giant AA batteries, right? This is not what we put in our system. We actually use an EV grade, top quality prismatic LFP cell. Now I say prismatic, why does that matter? Because it is a high resiliency, high output LFP cell that is used to being used in cars, right? When you drive your electric vehicle, you don't use the whole battery every time. You don't charge, just like sometimes you drive 10 miles, sometimes you drive 150. But those cycles, being able to stop, use the battery, charge it again, maybe drive a little bit more, charge it. Typically on an NMC cell, those cells are limited to how long they're going to run for, right? You might have a 4,000 cycle limit or a 10,000 cycle limit. So the customer finds himself in year 7 operating around NEM 3.0, having to discharge batteries at certain times, and they've hit their cycle limit in 6 years. So it's really important. This is why we have a prismatic EV grade LFP cell. And we'll talk a little bit about LFP and NMC in a second. This is an all-in-one design, so the battery comes completed, already built. No offense to ESP, but we do not trust you guys to build these things on site, like the Enphase batteries, right? That is why customers have problems. Like you guys are very capable, but the more opportunity for human error we add in there, the less happy your customers are going to be. So the Franklin comes completely ready. The CTs are built into the A gate. Everything's included, like the battery, the inverter that we make, our special inverter is included. The BMS is all put together in that system. It comes ready to go off grid out of the box. So this is an off grid capable battery. And it's a great thing to tell your customers when you're selling storage that, hey, like if you were off grid, this would work just the same way it's working now, connected to your grid. The only difference is, what a lot of people don't know is your customers have a utility easement. You know what that is? Utility easement. That means that if they disconnect from the grid, the utility can come and foreclose on their house. Now, is it fightable in law? Probably not going to win that argument very often, right? I don't know how many utilities are trying to take grandma's house, but the realistic thing, it's in the language. The utility has a right to be there and to sell them their energy. As we know, PG&E is not exactly a Walmart of power. It's pretty freaking expensive. So when you're comparing the fact that they get to control your customers, this is a great opportunity to pitch freedom and self-sufficiency. By the way, just as a side note, we do have an off-grid button on the battery. So I wouldn't recommend using it, but your customers, if they get pissed, they can go right in there and press it. Kind of like a red button, right? Don't press this red button. Oh, you pressed it. Now you're off grid. It's that kind of situation. So this is an off-grid capable battery out of the box. It can island itself, very similar to what Enphase does with their inverters and their battery. So when the grid goes down, we're going to pull in the solar so that you have that power to support the home as well as the battery power. And those are all going to work in conjunction. This is a 12-year warranty. That's right. 12 years. That is our standard warranty. There's other extended warranties available depending on if you're using Sonova or if you're using whatever on the financing. But this is a 12-year warranty based purely off of throughput. 43 megawatt hours is how much power you can run through this battery before we consider the warranty void, which is about 17 years using 14,000 kilowatt hours a year. So it's a lot of power. Most people are going to hit the time limit on the warranty before they ever hit the actual use case of the warranty. Whereas when you're comparing to other products, say Enphase has a 4,000 cycle limit, which could easily be done in 4 or 5 years. It's in our name, FranklinWH, Franklin Whole Home. But guys, we got to be really careful about selling whole home power, right? We have the capability for it. But you are going to have a lot of pissed off customers and basically 0 referrals if you're going out selling single battery whole home backup. Just because it's capable, just because it can do it, doesn't mean that it will every time. So we want to make sure that we're sizing these, and we'll talk about sizing in a second, what 1 battery is going to do versus 2 batteries. And then once you hit 3 batteries, bring on the hot tub, right? So we do have the ability to do whole home backup. We can also do partial home backup, and we can do a mix of the both. So what we have is the opportunity to do, back up your panel. You have smart circuits that you're going to be able to bring in from the A gate. We're going to talk about that, as well as non-backed up lugs, meaning customer has something they've never seen themselves using in an outage, we can connect a sub panel to that, and your guys will tell you what adder that looks like after this call. Most importantly, we work with pretty much every generator on the market that is sending a 240 volt signal. Standalone generators with ATSs, those are going to work automatically, but you can also hook up a pull, like a regular pull cord generator to the Franklin system, as long as it's putting out 240 volts. So you got to watch out for those little Honda guys that are like a little 120 volt, keep your fridge running for a few hours generator, but you can actually charge the battery when it gets low, off of the generator, and it works very, very well. We joke we work better with Generac than Generac. So highly recommend, especially you guys are dealing with this right now in California. Your weather, California turned into Canada for the last like 6 weeks, right? Freaking freezing. So, this is one of those things where when there's no sun power, your batteries are going to either need to charge off the grid, or they're going to need to charge off of a generator. So remind your customers that they can truly build a zombie-proof setup here, right? Between the solar and the batteries. And then most importantly, guys, we work with any inverter on the market today. So I know that when you're selling batteries, which you guys are accustomed to, if you're doing Enphase, you got to use the Enphase IQ8s. If I'm doing Solar Edge, I got to use Solar Edge. A lot of you have pre-existing customers that are looking for batteries right now, and they already have solar. This is an absolute great option, because whether it's a 2004 SMA or a 2008, 19 IQ8 plus, these are all going to work with this system, and all and have zero issues. So just a heads up. Any questions on this so far, Danny, that we want to address, or just keep going?
Keep charging through. We'll get some of these. There was one question here. What's the annual degradation percentage?
So 70% at 12 years. So we do have, we have an 89% guaranteed throughput, essentially. So which is really, really high for an AC coupled battery.
Cool. Good stuff.
Yeah. So this is the A power, as we talked about, right? This is the battery bank. It's all-in-one battery. So your inverter is inside of this. This is a stackable battery, right? So each battery has its own inverter. The more batteries you put in, the more powerful it gets. This also has everything, like I mentioned, the BMS built in. It's also waterproof. So one of the cool things we experienced in Florida was, it probably wasn't cool for the homeowner because he had about 36 inches of standing water in his basement. But he was smart enough to turn off the batteries prior to the flooding taking over. And when he turned it back on 2 days later, the battery worked perfect. Zero issue. So it sat in that water for almost 21 hours. Rest of his house. So he actually used the batteries to break down his home and use power drills and stuff to strip his house and get all the stuff off the wall during the hurricane. So really cool. So I'm gonna try not to be too humdrum. This is numbers and stats, and I know it's all like Greek to you guys, so I'm gonna translate this to something you understand. I promise.
Sales speak. Yes.
Sales geek, right?
I was wondering, when are we going to get to the quantum entanglement features? Is that coming? Okay. All right. The initial intro video made it seem like it was sort of whatever.
Yeah. I've dumbed it down, right? I tried. You guys said make it unicorns and poop emojis. So here we go. Usable capacity on this battery, right? Do you guys understand usable capacity? That's how much you can store. That's your gas tank, right? That's not your horsepower. That's how much power can I put into my battery. That's really important because they're two separate things. And what your customer's experience is going to be related to both of these. This is more about how long can I use the power, right? This is where we come in. Franklin is a high capacity battery. We're actually installing a 15 kilowatt hour battery on the home of the customer. What we're giving them to use is 13.6 kilowatt hour. In my line of work, we like to call that under promise, over deliver, right? You guys that have happy customers, you know that you under promise, you over deliver. For those of you that go into the house and say, hey, I got 9 panels and you are off grid, right? That customer is going to be pissed as hell when they get their true up bill at the end of the year. So we want to under promise and over deliver. 15 kilowatt hour battery, but we're actually giving the customer 13.6 kilowatt to use entirely. They get to use all of that. In comparison, Enphase is a 10.1 kilowatt hour battery. The customer can only use 9. You guys see where I'm getting at here? It's about 50% more power per Franklin than an Enphase battery in terms of usable capacity. This is a 5 kilowatt battery. That means that this battery runs, for those of you that are electric techies, at about 21 amps continuous. For those of you that are thinking, what does 5 kilowatt mean? It's the same as if you had 14, right, or 12, let's say 12 and a half 400 watt panels, and it was at 1 p.m. and it was in the middle of the day. That's your continuous output, right? We're running 5 kilowatt continuous. So your lights, your fridge, all those things all run at about 5 to 6 amps. You could stock those things up 1 amp, right? They're very, very low level of use. But things like an air conditioning unit, that's going to run about 6 kilowatts of continuous output. That means you're going to, guess what? You're going to need 2 batteries, right, to run an AC. Well, the value of our battery is that we can double our continuous output for 10 seconds. That is crazy when you compare the numbers. So like Tesla, who's probably the most powerful AC coupled battery besides Franklin on the market, they can only go to 7.6 kilowatt. So it can increase its surge by about 50%. We can double our power, which means, yeah, we can start the air conditioning unit. It's going to run for 10 seconds. It's going to turn back off again. Right. So that's something to consider, right? But every battery that you add, you are going to double these numbers. So when I have a 2 battery system, I'm now running 10 kilowatt of continuous output, 20 kilowatt peak. When I have a 3 battery system, I'm more powerful than a Solarc, the most powerful Solarc inverter on the market.
Pretty cool.
So the cool thing about this battery, you can stack these guys up to 15 batteries on a controller. And because I have a lot of you on this call, I'm excited to give this announcement. If you sell a 15 battery system, I will give you my house in Kauai for a week. Nobody's done it yet. We just gave a congratulatory email to somebody who had an 11 battery system, because that's one more than you can get from Tesla. So we made sure to let them know, like, appreciate them for breaking the glass ceiling wide open, right? But you can actually go, one of the cool things about this battery is as you stack it, it stacks on output power up to 7.5 batteries. So every battery that you add, it becomes more powerful, up to 7 batteries, which is, again, that's 160 amps. You're running, that's small commercial. That's the easiest way I can put that. You don't need that, right? Most of your customers need 1 or 2 batteries, depending on what they're looking to do in NEM. But as we're going to talk about, for your systems that are larger size, like 10, 12, 15 kilowatt solar systems, those generate a lot of power, and you're going to need a big fish net to catch that, right? And that's where Franklin really comes into play with its 15 kilowatt hour installed. There's a lot of room for that power to go, not go back to the grid, not lose out on those crappy NEM credits, but use that power later. Again, this is a 240 volt for you more techies. This is all split phase. We do not do 3 phase for commercial. So don't call us with your industrial jobs that want Franklin. We are not going to touch them. But one of the cool things about this is there is no DC touch. This is all AC. So for the guys that are installing these batteries for you, this is as simple as it gets. So just know that your crews that are working on this, when they get the Franklin job, they go, oh, thank God, I don't have to connect the spaghetti, This is going to be a really easy wire job. It's going to be really kick. So what do these things mean, right? Like I gave you guys a lot of stats here, a lot of numbers that probably made your brain explode a little. What this means is when we have a 15 kilowatt hour battery, but we only give the customer 13.6, when they have a multi-day outage and they drain their entire battery, how do they start their solar up the next day? Do you guys know that your solar is actually your inverter is connected to the grid, and that it uses power to start when your solar gets going? So if your battery's dead, how do you start your solar system if there's no grid connection? That's why we have that extra power that we don't really bring up with the customer, right? It's in there, that 15 kilowatt, to allow that system to work for up to 3 days where there is no grid connection. That's crazy. If you had a Tesla, you would have to come out the next day and charge it immediately. Now, if the customer never lets their battery drain all the way and they use all the features of this battery, they'll never have to worry about that, and they can essentially live off grid, right? But should the customer drain it, it's still going to start once the sun comes back up, because there's that secret power there. So that's a really big feature that most pretty much every battery on the market cannot do except for Enphase. And this is one of the best warranties that you're going to see on the market, and it's backed by the largest battery manufacturer in the world. So that's right, CATL actually backs our warranty for Franklin. So if something were to ever happen to us, CATL would still be covering the customer. It's a better stackable output and more powerful than Tesla. So let's talk about LFP real quick. I know you guys probably could care less about chemistry, right? My customer loves Tesla. My customer loves SolarEdge. I'm throwing these batteries on there. But here's the thing, guys, like you guys didn't get into solar because you hate the environment. And frankly, LFP is the most renewable battery chemistry available on the planet as it stands right now. Nickel, manganese.
Remind everybody what LFP stands for.
All right, lithium ferrophosphate or lithium iron phosphate. That R is really important in the iron, right? Because lithium ion phosphate is NMC. So you got to make sure you're saying it right. Lithium iron phosphate. This is why our batteries are 400 pounds, guys. It's heavy. Yeah. It is not. NMC is like Allen Iverson, right? It's nimble, it's quick, it's very powerful. It can do a lot really quick, but it's also super volatile, and you never know what's going to go on a press conference and blow up your entire business, right? Like this is NMC is, can get hot. You've got thermal runaway risk. I don't need to talk about LG. You guys already know, right? You've seen the fire. Like I'm sure your customers occasionally bring up the Tesla fires, right? Oh, these batteries go on fire. Yeah, I've heard of that too from Tesla, but we don't use that kind of chemistry. We use Franklin's LFP battery. It's solid, it's recyclable, and there's no risk of fire to you. And by the way, guys, we keep a fan and a heating blanket in these. So for your customers that are in cold areas, the battery is going to heat itself to make sure that it doesn't lose its charge. In areas like Vacaville, where it's 120 degrees in the summertime, we have fans in this battery to keep it cool, and they run extremely quiet. So let's talk a little bit whole home power, right? What is backup? I've got a buddy, we'll say is a competitor, Everett Brewer of Stores, right? He hates the idea of people talking about whole home power with Franklin. He's like, it's 5 kilowatt continuous. Yeah, man. One battery is not whole home, right? But when we get to 2 batteries, that's where things start getting interesting. And that's where we can actually control our appliances from our smart app on the Franklin app. Turn them on, turn them off. We'll talk about that. But the whole home backup, when we explain that to a customer, that means that I can be in my living room, turn on the lights. I can go to the other side of my house, turn on the kitchen or the bedroom lights, right? Like I have access to my entire house because my battery is capable of X. It's more work for ESP. They've got to pull the loads that aren't being backed up, right? And put those in essentially a non-backed up panel. But any appliance that's under 20 amps, we're going to run it. No problem. Everything over 20 amps, you need a second battery. It's real simple. So 1A power, lights, internet, TV, garage, right? Those are the things you can put on a battery. And these things in yellow right here, those are things that we're going to land on the smart circuits. Like, yeah, you might be able to run it. Is the solar running during the day? Let's fire up the washing machine, right? We got that load side support from the sun. We got enough power now. But the yellow are basically, those are going to be in your smart circuits. With 2A power, we can back up the whole entire panel, AC, pool pump, water heater, well pump, those things we're going to pull into the smart circuits so they're controllable. So the customer has the choice. Do I have solar supporting my battery right now? Is my battery charged? I want to run my AC, right? Maybe it's been cloudy all day and I don't want to run my AC because I know that that'll drain me down to 0 and then I don't have lights tonight. So there's options, and these are things that are controllable by the customer. And so let me jump this real quick. All right, here we go. So the way we control this is through our A gate. So I'm going to talk about the controller because you guys know the Sunlight IQ. You guys are Enphase house, right, Danny? I think I knew this.
I am.
You are.
Yeah.
You're
SolarEdge Enphase, yeah.
SolarEdge Enphase. Okay. So we work with either one, right? But the main thing to know, like,
I thought you meant my house, like over.
Oh, your house
right now.
Okay.
I have, yes, me
You
personally,
have
I have Enphase.
Perfect. So yeah, we could bring in. So think of the A gate as kind of like the Sunlight IQ, right? But way more powerful. So this is actually designed by a 27-year-old Lee Hang of our company. What a lot of people don't know is Elon Musk, when he made Tesla and he put out that stuff, they actually open sourced all of the engineering, right? They made it available to anybody, and he challenged people, make something better. Lee Hang took him up on that. And he absolutely, at 27 years old, created probably the smartest, as the godfather of code and compliance, Bill Brooks, has said, this is the best controller I've seen in the industry in the last 25 years. You can connect any power source, battery, solar, grid, generator. Our generator module actually works with wind turbines, but we're not, like, who's got that, right? But just in terms of it's literally, you can bring in any power source into the A gate. You can install this battery with no solar. You can just install it with a grid connection. You can install this battery with only a generator. So I have a lot of people in the Midwest that are like, dude, I don't need solar. It's cool. It's like 20 degrees here for 7 months. But I want battery and generator to back me up in the winter when we constantly lose power. So, again, there's a billion different uses for this. There's really not a situation where you go, oh, you don't think Franklin's right for this job here. Unless it's, that has to be mounted 25 feet up on the wall because it is 400 pounds. Flexible backup options. So with the A gate, we talked about this earlier. You can do whole home backup. You can do partial backup. You can do non-critical loads, things I may or may not be able to use depending if I've got solar support or not. We have smart circuits. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the span panel, but think of this as span panel for dummies. I kind of brought it up earlier. If you let grandma, like most people, the span panel is a really highly complicated, difficult to manage thing. It is really cool. It is really, really cool. But my mother, I forget my grandma, my mom wouldn't be able to turn her lights back on with that app. So it's kind of like putting grandma in a Ferrari, right? Like, let's hope she doesn't wrap it around a tree, versus our smart circuits are like a golf cart with like a fuzzy steering wheel, right? It's just like, it's literally, there's 2 or 3 options, and it's the large appliances that the customers really need. So I have a lady in Hawaii. I kind of want to visit her today after our meeting with Revolution, but she lives off grid. She had a iguana system before. She swapped it out for Franklin's because her teenagers every single morning would drain her battery after surfing. They go hit the ocean, they come back, they jump on that electric water heater, and that battery is drained before it even got to get started charging, right? And now her solar won't charge her battery because her batteries are dead. So she got a Franklin system. She sits on the app and she turns off the hot water on her teenagers every morning with a big smile on her face. Like, boy, get out. Next boy, get in. It's one of my favorite use cases of why these smart circuits provide real benefit every day. So one of the cool things too, guys, with this is we do have, with the smart circuits, we are EV ready. So you can fit 2 level 2 chargers on our 240 volt smart circuit. So that means customers that may not have an electric car right now, but are going to get one in the future. This is a great way. You don't have to upgrade their main panel and get them all bulked out for their eventual future acceleration. No, this is ready. You can plug in. We're also ready for bidirectional charging. So should a customer have a Ford Lightning or a Chevy Blazer, they're going to be able to utilize that additional power to recharge their batteries when that becomes available. So really cool. And then you can see exactly what the house is using, what's being produced, and you can see all that stuff from your solar system and then the home on the app. So customers can see in real time. It changes instantly. When they turn on a light, they're going to see their usage go up. They turn the light off, they'll see it go back down again. So it's a really, really cool product in terms of being able to see exactly what the battery is doing and, what their state of the union is in that current situation. But these smart circuits are meant for large appliances, air conditioning units, hot tub, water pumps, heat pumps, those kind of larger voltage. Those are things that you may or may not be able to use in an outage, depending on how much power and how much they're using at the time. So this is one of the things that I'm not going to pull the cover off like I did for Danny and the boys. I think that's too much we don't want to get into that today, but we'll probably do some future education and talk a little bit more about the function on that. So again, you can connect up to 19 kilowatt of solar. You can put up to 16 or 15 batteries without having to do a main panel upgrade on the home. So I want to talk, since we're on that subject of NEM 3.0, Why high capacity batteries? Why shouldn't everybody just get little 5 kilowatt batteries that are cheaper? Right? Doesn't cost as much. I can store my power. It's because most people have, and I mean, I'm assuming this is the case with ESP. You guys probably average about an 8 kilowatt system, right? Like per
Yep.
per
7.2, right around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perfect. So let's use that. So a 7.2 kilowatt hours or 7.2 kilowatt system generates how many kilowatt hours on a sunny July day, right? Like 55, 60, maybe a little less, but in its highest power and its highest output, you're going to see some serious generation. Most people work during the day. Most people are not home using their energy when the sun's out. We rely on our net metering to give us a credit for that power so that we can use that power at nighttime. That's been unfortunately shot down, right? So now we need as much power as possible to store said batteries for when they need to use it at nighttime. So if you've got a guy with a 10, 12 kilowatt solar system, do not try to sell him a single battery and tell him it's going to be effective in NEM. Because he's going to lose a majority of his power to the grid and get it back at 7 cents. When we know that energy costs 40, 33. So the advantage of high capacity batteries, you're creating a bigger net, more power to store when you need it most at nighttime. So with our 15 kilowatt, with 2 of these Franklins, you're already at the capacity of 3 Enphase. Again, we talked about the warranty. It's 12-year, whoop-de-doo. Everybody moves out of their house in 7 or 8 years anyway. But actually, this really matters, right? The 12 years is 2 years is going to be a big difference. And when we're talking about inverters and the inverters in these batteries continuing to work, you guys know, you guys been doing this a long time. Like we sell Enphase or we sell Solar Edge and you sell an extended warranty, knowing that that's going to be replaced at some point. And you just cross your fingers and you hope, hey, this extended warranty, I hope that Solar Edge covers this replacement for my customer. We've actually built an inverter that we know is going to work for 15 to 20 years. That's not a problem. We are under promising on this warranty in a big way at 12 years. There are no heat restrictions for install on this battery. Well, at least nowhere in the United States that I don't think you can put this. Just don't put it in direct sunlight, right? Keep it shaded. But if you're in Sacramento and it's I live in Phoenix. I got a temperature gauge that shoots up 121, 122 sometimes in the summer. I'm usually not there for it because we go to Oregon because it's just too scary hot. But this will work. And this has been a big thing in Arizona, is us being able to put these batteries in garages and know that their warranty is not instantly nullified the second summer rolls around, right? Enphase, Tesla, they require, I think, a 90-degree max, 85-degree operating temperature before they will bring the warranty down. So we allow -4 to 122 Fahrenheit. And this is a waterproof battery with no cycle limits. On that throughput number, if you guys want comparisons, you can see down below. Enphase 10-year warranty, 28 megawatt hour. Tesla is a 10-year, 38 megawatt hour. So as we like to say, FranklinWH, better power for your wall. We'll play on. So another cool thing about the Franklin feature, guys, when your customers lose power, it's going to be instant. If they're using a ton of power and it's more than what the output of the battery is, it's going to shut off and it'll turn back on in 30 seconds and shed the loads that it needs to. And we'll talk about that in a second. But again, 16 milliseconds, that's instant. The customer's not going to know the power went out most of the time. In fact, I was just one of our distributors just hit me up the other day. He goes, man, I was in Utah. I saw a notice from PG&E that I had a power outage. Called my wife to see if everything was okay, and she didn't even know what I was talking about because they didn't lose any bit of power. Everything was running, heat pumps going, everything's working fine. He's like, I hung up that phone knowing that every penny that I spent on the system was worth it in that moment. Because it's not, you guys, selling batteries isn't about, you're not selling savings anymore. This is an upgrade. You're taking the grid, you're putting it in these people's pockets, right? I'm saying, hey, like, up until now, you had no control. Even if you had solar, you had no control over your system. You're at the mercy at the year-end true-up of what is it going to look like? And with batteries, your customers now have their own infrastructure. They have their own grid. They don't want to sell acronyms and savings with batteries, guys. We want to sell security, resiliency, freedom, right? Off-grid button. Like, there's not a customer you're going to come across that doesn't want that. But you got to frame it, right? They're not, these babies aren't cheap, as you guys know. You're going from selling a $20,000, $30,000 ticket to a $50,000, $60,000 ticket. On top of that, financing has completely screwed us, right? All the financing companies are making a money grab and changing their rates to 30% fees and 6% interest. And it's, you guys are in a tough situation. It is not easy to walk in with a customer trying to buy a rickshaw and sell them a Lexus. But that's where we're at, right? So we need you guys, we have to be able to really portray the message here to customers that your utility does, like, has your utility bill ever made you happy?
When it's really, really, really low because
Right.
of solar.
Because of solar. So solar is the only thing that makes you happy about your utility bill, right? So think about this, like, why would you maintain that relationship? How many of you are in a toxic relationship right now? Right, with your boyfriend, go be like, dude, I need to break up with that a-hole yesterday, right? This is the utility, guys. This is where we're at. And the utility is literally mercilessly ripping money out of people's wallets, changing prices as much as they want. Gas is getting more expensive. We can add batteries and electrify our home. We don't need even to have gas, right? Like the future is here. Like, it is sellable, is in your product. So just to give you an idea of the balance of these things, right? Internet, lights, TV. I want to ram this down your throats. Access to my basic amenities. That is always going to be fine on one battery. And then we're going to load up like our things like our air conditioning unit, our pool pump, or our EV charger. We're going to put that on the smart circuits so that when the power goes out, it shuts those things off. And maybe I want to try to run my AC. I've got solar going. I've got one battery. Let me run my 2-ton AC. No problem. I can see exactly how much time is left on my battery doing exactly what I'm doing. So I can set that to go turn off when the battery gets to 50%. I can manually turn it off myself. There's a lot of control that we're giving back to the customers. Again, span panel for dummies, right? Pick the 3 things that are really important, or even build a sub panel and shut that off, that portion of the house. So this is where Franklin is really unique and different, where we really are kind of putting the control back into the customer's hands. For NEM, we have a really great rate plan that will charge and discharge the battery. But I think, the biggest benefit here, guys, from Franklin is we have a really robust system. Our A-gate has a 280 amp bus bar with 200 amp pass-through. There's no job you can't really do with Franklin, right? Because again, unless it's commercial and you start getting into that 3-phase. If a customer has a 400 amp service, guess what? We just throw 2 A-gates and build them 2 systems. Like, you can still do whole home backup. There's nothing stopping you here. And it's a 280 amp bus bar. So 90% of the time, you're not going to have to do an MPU. We're still working with the AHJs to understand this. There is some education level that has to happen. Inspectors are every day surprise me at how little they know. But we're working on your guys' behalf to make sure that hopefully by the end of this year, all of the utilities and all of the AHJs understand this MPU avoidance and why you guys don't need to do it. So we'll work on our end, on the back end. But again, it's a robust product, large capacity, tons of solar, up to a 50 kilowatt generator. I need to change that. Bi-directional car charging and 15 batteries per A-gate. You connect your vehicle directly to your solar storage system, right? With our smart circuits. Most importantly, reduce compromise for your customers. Like, ask them, do you want to use your home comfort systems in an outage? Don't call it air conditioning or heat pumps. Like, get out of there, right? Call it comfort. Call it what it is. Get to the soul of the customer. Ask them if they're willing to sacrifice that. If they are, then you can move forward knowing that you've done your job and educating them on what's available. Seamlessly transfer between power sources. We talked about that. Our system is very simple. It does not do the fancy frequency shifting or all the things that SolarEdge or Enphase are trying to do that make their systems not work. This is a click, 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 click. This works for this works. This works to this work. Very simple. We've got over thousands of batteries in the marketplace. We've only ever returned 2. So it works. You can install it. Know your customer is going to be happy. And again, I just think this is really important. Main panel upgrades, they kill your cash flow, they kill your paychecks because you got to wait for those meter spots. I know the drill. So hopefully this will make, if you're coming up to customer that's adding 12 kilowatt to 125 amp service, what do? Right? We're going to build him a 200 amp panel off of our control, right? And instead of the customer having to wait for the utility, there's still cost to it. So having to wait for the utility to come out and tell them what they can do, you can just start right away and build the system out. So I want to show you guys a couple systems so you can see these things in action, but this is my favorite slide. This is kind of the danger alley. We have done a ton of testing on this battery, guys. As you can see there on the drop test in the middle there, we actually drop a battery out of the sky from about 15 feet to simulate what would happen if it fell off the top shelf of a warehouse, right? And actually stayed all together. We lit it on fire with gasoline and the battery did not explode. We've done aging and seawater tests and all the testing you guys could possibly ask. Not only that, but this is 9540A, meaning you can put the batteries 4 inches apart from each other. Not something you can do with Tesla in PG&E territory. They got to be 3 feet. So you can actually fit more batteries in a smaller space. Couple installs for you guys just to check out so you can see this thing in action. So this is up in Atherton, even $15 million homes lose power, right? So this is a really kill. This was actually our very, very first Franklin system ever. Here's Bill Brooks, the godfather of engineering and solar NABCEP NEC code. He's a big reason why you guys are able to install solar in California at all. This is one of my favorites. I actually was visiting these guys yesterday here in Honolulu. We've got 2 solar edge inverters and an end-phase system that was added on later, all combined into the Franklin battery. So complete versatility. You don't really have to worry about what the customer's got on their house to do, what battery can I install for them? Franklin's perfect for it. You got people in cold areas, got guys up in the mountains. This battery works in the cold. We have heat blankets. So in this situation, it was actually 2 degrees outside. The battery was able to detect the storm that was coming, moved it into storm hedge mode, charged the battery to full off the grid. 2 hours later, the customer's power went down. Thankfully, he has a generator connected to this battery. So he ran for what was, I think, 2.5 days, his house. So he actually had like 15 people at his house during the snowstorm because nobody else had power. So, and he said the problem was, he's like, they all saw the blue light. They all can walk towards it like zombies. So, all right, and then this is my system, guys. This is like my baby system. So we hooked this up for a construction group. The utility was not going to be able to bring power out to the property for like 1.5 years. So we put 2 batteries in a container, put solar panels on top, and they actually used this to build a 6,300 square foot luxury home off grid. Drills, buzz saws, table saws, compressor, rebar bender. What that meant for Franklin was we were getting sine waves and data that was berserk, right? Like the kind of stuff you're never going to use your batteries for. And we were able to get that into our software to make this more effective, more resilient, and more powerful. And this is when, we actually joke that, Keurig machines are the battery killer. What a lot of people don't know is they surge at about 20,000 watts when you boil the water. And a lot of people don't know that we joke that we had a girl here that used to work with us. She actually, her Keurig would fault out her Franklin because she had an imbalanced load. We came in, we were able to like analyze it, figure it out. And now we have it. FranklinWH keeps your coffee machine running swag that we'll send to all of you guys. Because we're one of the only batteries that can actually keep a coffee machine from faulting out your battery. So, I mean, that's really it, you guys, from my end of, I want to talk about the product. What you guys understand with NEM 3.0 is that batteries are going to be the way of the future. And I don't want you to be scared of it. I want you to be confident that you guys are putting the grid back onto your customer's house. It's really that simple, right? Grid agnostic is a real thing. You can build a system where they do not need to use the utility. It's just there in case they need it. And that is an awesome, that's how I want my house to be, right? That's the home that I want to live in. It's free of cost from the utility, free of changes and all the policy, and just have my own power and manage it. So, I mean, that's my shtick. I'm sure you got questions.
That's awesome, Justin. I've been answering a bunch of the questions in the chat here back and forth. I I definitely want to kind of chime in here a little bit and just say this is probably the battery that your customers think is being installed and how solar works right now. This is what they think they're probably getting when they sign up to get solar and storage. And it's our job as salespeople that are in the home, solar and storage salespeople, to give them the right information, right? You know, we've all heard the, hey, if I get a battery, I can just run my whole house off the solar and the battery. And they're including like their 3 air conditioning units, all of their devices, everything that they have in the house. And obviously that's not the case. And unfortunately, a lot of solar salespeople have sold batteries incorrectly. But now is the time to use this information and do it the right way and help our homeowners make the right choice. And we're actually being forced to do it. NEM 3.0 is helping us make the right choices for our customers and getting the right path. And so random question here I just saw, is there high EMF? Another
No,
interesting
no.
question for mine.
The answer is no. Not even. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think so.
Justin, one of the things you had mentioned a little bit ago in one of the slide transitions was the NEM 3 like rate calculator programming, all that kind of stuff, because
Right.
each of the utilities has their own mad graph of madness,
Right.
you know. Is that something that's already baked into the software? Can you talk
Yes.
about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So we're going to pull off whatever the rate schedule is in that territory. We have you can edit. So for time of use mode, which is what most customers will be using in California, you can edit to whatever your discharge periods are. It's like it can be controlled, and it shows up in the app. A lot of the times you guys are going to be doing that. The back end ops will be programming it to match so the customer doesn't screw it up. And then we have a fleet manager. So you guys can see if your customer moves it into backup mode for some reason and out of time of use mode, which means they're not cycling the battery, you guys will be let know. You can contact the customer and say, hey, did you mean to do that? Like, you know, are you on vacation, or like what were you guys worried about the weather? That way your customer doesn't wake up a month later, get their bill and go, what the heck? So you do have, it's, very much. And by the way, guys, I know you've been telling people this forever that, well, we're monitoring your system and we'll let you know if there's something wrong. We're actually monitoring these batteries and we will actually let you know if something's wrong. We have 100 people overseas literally looking at this going, oh, this battery's in yellow, quick. Like, this is what we do. So most of the time your customers will wait. If there's something that happens in the middle of the night, they'll wake up to the answer.
Nice. Love it.
That's great.
So, and I saw a question on here about the inverter. So, yes, guys, we are an AC coupled. The inverter in our battery is for the battery. It is not for your solar system, right? We're not a DC coupled where you can just put the panels right into the controller and then the system's going to do the work. No, it needs to be used with an outside inverter, whether it's Solar Edge or Enphase. Either one will work.
Yep. Good stuff.
Oh, there is no, Jamie, there is no cycle warranty. So our warranty is based off throughput and time. We do not have, there's no limit on cycles.
Love it. Awesome. Well, we're almost at time, Justin. Thank you so much for throwing this all together. Team and everybody listening out there right now, we're going to go ahead and we'll put this together in a sweet edited video, and we'll also email out the deck and everything that is there so that you can use that in the home. I think this is a pretty solid solution for everybody to really understand and make sure that your homeowners know what they're getting. Again, asking the right questions, doing the right discovery, figuring out what the homeowner is really looking to achieve in this NEM 3.0 arena. I always kind of come back to what you said at the very beginning, Justin, of like the days of like, hey, I can save you $50 a month by just going solar today are long gone. And we're going to be asking different questions of saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and put this very sophisticated system up on your roof and in your house. and there's going to be a return on investment that we're going to look at. And that's how we're going to look at the ultimate savings package rather than a monthly return. It's going to be production based, and it's going to be usage based. So asking about self-consumption, what's being used behind the meter, all of the fun new sayings that we're going to be having. It's really cool stuff. And so thank you for everything that Franklin's doing. We look forward to selling and installing tons of these.
Awesome.
Tons of these.
I'm excited, guys. We actually, so I just had Gary V film yesterday, one of our training segments. I have Grant Cardone doing a training segment for sales on batteries. We're going to be putting out tons and tons of content that we'll be able to get to your guys over the next like 5 months, 4 months that are going to, I think, just little 2-minute, 3-minute, like get sharp, right? I mean, instead of listening to a song on the way to the customer's house, listen to the video, right?
Yeah.
And have that talk track in your head. So we'll have a lot of that stuff coming out over the next few months. We're kind of hyper focused right now on making sure that you guys know about the battery first, and then we'll have all that ready for you guys. So again, if you have any questions, I know there's a billion of you, do not be afraid to pass them down. I'm going to be standing by to answer it, whatever you guys need over the next couple of days, as you guys are studying this. So I'll put my contact information, send it to the boys so they have it. If it's a situation where it's a homeowner and you need help closing a deal, maybe the customer needs to talk to the manufacturer, we'll create channels for that so you guys have communication there.
Awesome. That's really cool. Cool guys, gals. Thank you everybody for joining. Justin, badass. Love this stuff. We'll keep it rocking, and everybody out there for watching and joining the webinar. Really appreciate you. Look forward to charging through NEM 3.0, and we're all going to be pros. Thanks a lot.
Was that a battery pun? Charging through?
Yep.
Oh man, laying it up.
Wow, yeah, we're gonna sign off on that one. That was fantastic.
Right.
Exactly. I've been thinking about that one. Awesome.
Appreciate you
Everybody
guys.
have a great
Thanks,
day,
everybody.
a great week. Rock and roll.